um, because of this very fact. As you can see, obesity is rapidly, the incidence and prevalence of obesity is rising rapidly. And we must be worried about our future as well as our children's future. So we have to start somewhere. And the first thing is to create an awareness among our community as well as medical, non-medical, every community. So therefore we started this program DOSTI, that is Diabetes and Obesity Surgical Treatment Initiative. So and this is second symposium. Last year we conducted first, and this is the second symposium of that program. So now the first thing is to understand what is obesity and where we can intervene in a very basic, and maybe at sometimes I would be speaking in a layman language so that all of us should be at the same page. So the first thing is to know what is the burden of the disease, what is pathophysiology, and what are the targets of intervention. Right. So to start with, how much do you think is the prevalence of obesity, overweight and obesity in Pakistan? Anyone, percentage-wise? 10% overweight or obese? Overweight. 10% overweight. Anyone else? More than 50%. Right. Right. So if we go internationally, it is like 33% and overweight and obese. And if the same situation continues in 2030, it would be 57%. But in Pakistan, it is 9th of 188 countries. When we take the absolute numbers, because our population is high, so if we take the absolute numbers, it is 9th across the world. And if we go to the WHO, it's like 28% overweight and 4.8% obese. However, one of the published study from Karachi, it was like 29% overweight and 21% obese. But before I began this program, I was asked to reply that is it necessary in our community in Pakistan, maybe in the community that is coming to the Patel, is it necessary to go and vouch for this bariatric surgery? And then I started noting down every patient who was coming in my surgery clinic. I've started noting down their body mass index. And you will be surprised to know that 60% of the population was overweight, 60%. And this percentage is basically the WHO criteria. And if I get the criteria of Indo-Pak Asians, Dr. Aisha Samne hai. So she is Dr. Aisha, welcome. She is nutritionist. Right. So if we take the criteria of Asians, it would be much higher than that. So therefore, I embarked on it. So you can see that there is some difference, slight difference in Asians and Caucasians. Here we can see that it's class 1, it starts from 30, but in Asians it starts from 27.5. So my figures are basically with the WHO or Caucasians, not with the Asians. So is obesity a disease? How many of you consider it as a disease? Everyone? Yeah, most of. What is the symptom then? Every disease has a symptom. What is the symptom of obesity? Joint pain, hunger pangs. Hunger is the first symptom. Hunger, right? Why? Because I will tell you this, why this hunger is the first symptom. Like in diabetes, there is, hunger, polyuria, I think so. Yeah, same thing. So here it's the same thing. The hunger pangs are the symptoms of the obesity. So now there are two pathways. One is the subconscious and other is the conscious pathway. सारा याद करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, सिर्फ मैं एक स्नैपशॉट दे रहा हूँ कि there is a nucleus in hypothalamus which controls our hunger and satiety, right? and this nucleus is at subconscious level, and it is affected by several factors like nutrients in our GIT, hormones, and some conscious also, right? So you can see that this is the subconscious pathway, but this is affected by several factors. One most important that you should remember is the ghrelin. This is the hormone which is orexogenic, which increases our appetite. G for ghrelin and G for gastric, because this is the hormone secreted by the mainly fundus of the stomach. So when our stomach is empty, ghrelin increases, and it stimulates our hunger center. Now as we start eating, and the food, because of the stretch as well, and as the food goes into the duodenum and jejunum small bowel, gradually these hormones increase, mainly this GLP-1, because I'm giving you this important thing because Dr. Sumaira would be speaking about this GLP-1 analog. So this GLP and all these hormones, the gut hormones, the fat, all these hormones increase the satiety and decrease the hunger, right? So there is one hormone which increases the hunger, that is the ghrelin, and there are several hormones which actually increase the satiety and decrease the hunger. Still, sometimes, I mean, there are situations at which all these hormones are defeated, right? Now, so पेट खाली है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल भर गया, अब हमने खाना शुरू कर दिया, भर गया, and after looking at this picture, how many of you can still resist this? Only two, right? So only two can resist not to eat, right? So which means that everything is not at subconscious level. There are also conscious pathways. So that is the sight and smell and taste, all these things also affect on these, right? So which means that we have to work at different levels. If we want to control obesity, we have to control different levels. Now you can see why obesity occurs. It's not simply the genetic. There are other epigenetic factors. Like as I say usually, that there is a seed in our body, but every seed requires air, water, and an environment. And that environment is being given by several other factors. So, as Einstein says that if a problem is, no problem can be solved while being at the same level. So, we have to work at a different level, right? And there are different levels of intervention. For the conscious thing, for the conscious pathway, we have lifestyle modification pathways, and the key role is the supervised diet and the exercise. And when the lifestyle modification is failing to control the weight, then comes the role of medications. And there are certain indications of surgeries as well. So we have to control at different levels. There are certain medications which decrease our appetite, increase our satiety. There are medications which decrease the fat absorption. So there are different levels, right? And similarly, for the surgical or intervention, endoscopic interventions, Dr. Arshad would be speaking on that, right? So there are, when everything fails, then comes the surgery. But we must understand that it's a multidisciplinary thing. It's not that if a surgeon touches the patient, that means that's the end, right? So still, all the three things are required. The lifestyle modification, the medications, and other things, everyone is required in this. And there are several people around this DOSTI team. I mean, diabetes and obesity surgical treatment initiative. There are several people interconnected with each other. They work with each other. So we have to collaborate in order to alleviate this obesity. But what are the problems? Lack of awareness among the population. Then expertise, teamwork, programs. Most important is pharma and monetaries, right? No one wants to collaborate. And if real time a person requires surgery, many physicians won't refer that for various reasons, right? Maybe for the ego purpose, but we have to overcome all these obstacles, right? In short, Obesity is endemic and burden is rising. So we have to work at different levels because it is multifactorial, and prevention is better, cheaper, and healthier than cure. So there is need for the collaboration and a teamwork. And when everything fails, just fall in love with the wrong person.